Okay, estudiantes, this is your second type of clause that we may or may not use the subjunctive with, okay? These are adjective clauses. They're introduced with the letter K, just like a noun clause, right? But the setup is going to be different. Okay, so here's adjective clauses. Sorry for the overlap there, but the K describes, right, they function as an adjective, not a noun. So starting with the K, that whole phrase will describe a person, place, or thing. It's not going to function as a person, place, or thing, but it will describe it because that's what adjectives do, right? So here's your formula. You've got first subject, first verb, which will still be in the indicative. Then, though, you have subject number 2, which is definitely where you have to change the subject. Then you've got the K, then verb number 2, which is still where we decide subjunctive or indicative. Now, the point of analysis is different. For adjective clauses, you are analyzing subject number 2. That is where we're going to analyze, guys. Not back over on verb number 1. I don't particularly care about verb number 1 anymore. I do a little bit, but definitely not as much. For adjective clauses, I care about subject number 2. That's first most important point of this presentation. Okay, then, right, if the person, place, basically for adjective clauses, it's a lot easier. You don't have wedding, there's not as many reasons. There's 3 options. Number 1. If subject number 2, right, again, that's the person, place, or thing that's being described, if that thing is known for certain to exist, you will use the indicative. I have examples next, so that'll clarify. If the person, place, or thing that is subject number 2, right, where we analyze, does not exist, you use subjunctive. And finally, your third option, if the person, place, or thing that is subject number 2 might or might not exist, you still use subjunctive. So for adjective clauses, it's pretty easy. The only time you're going to use indicative is if you know for sure that that thing being described, that subject number 2, does exist. Otherwise, it's going to be subjunctive. Okay, so here's for if your subject number 2 possibly exists. Here's an example, right? And I broke it down, I color-coded it. So yo, right, that's my subject 1. Quiero, that's my verb number 1 in the indicative, I want. Una novia, a girlfriend. That is subject number 2, okay? So that's what I analyze. I look at a girlfriend, okay? That is intelligent, pretty, and funny, okay? So obviously here, my verb number 2 has been put in the subjunctive. Here's why. You have to use the subjunctive because you may never find that girlfriend. What if you don't ever have any girlfriend? What if you have a girlfriend and she's beautiful and she's smart, but she really has no sense of humor? What if you only have a girlfriend that's beautiful and funny, but she's not really that intelligent? What if there's a girl you know that has all 3 of those characteristics, but she never is your girlfriend because she's got a different guy? She may not exist for you, okay? That's why, because she maybe or maybe will not exist in the future, you must use subjunctive. Another example. My brother, subject number 1, is looking, verb number 1 in the indicative, for a house, that's subject number 2, that has 5 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms. Okay? Clearly, again, my subject number 2, or my verb number 2 has been put in the subjunctive. Tenga, you know that's a subjunctive form. Here's why. Right? If your brother is looking for that house, he may find it and he may not. He may only find a house that has 5 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. He may only find a house in his budget that has 4 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms, okay? This specific house may not exist for him. That's why we use the subjunctive. Now, here's an important point, right? This is key, because some of you guys are going to go, but Senora, I know there's houses that have 5 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms in this world. Of course there are. Yes, many of them, I'm sure. Millions probably exist throughout the world. However, the speaker's perspective is what matters, okay? When you say my brother, I have to go from his perspective. He has not found that house. It does not exist for him, hence you use the subjunctive. So sometimes you have to put aside your own knowledge or logic and focus on the speaker, okay? Then your next option, it's certain that subject number 2 exists. That's when you use indicative. So your examples, I need to speak with the girl in my class that works at Forever 21. I, right, subject number 1, need to speak, verb number 1 in the indicative. The girl in my class, that's subject number 2, right? that works at Forever 21. Because remember, this whole phrase that works at Forever 21 is describing the girl in your class. So that's subject number 2. She exists. She's in your class. You know her. You might not be best friends with her, but you know she exists. Indicative, right? Which is why trabaja, right, verb number 2 is in the indicative. Okay, another example. Subject number 2 for sure exists. We want the puppy that is tiny with the black head and the white feet, right? So it's indicative because if you say we want the puppy, the little tiny one with the black head and the white feet, you are talking about a specific puppy. You're saying, I pick out that one, the one that I'm looking at, this one I'm pointing to, okay? If you said, I want a puppy that's tiny with, a black head and white feet, that is a totally different matter. But because it's we want the puppy, I'm speaking to a specific dog, and I know the dog exists. That's why it's indicative. Okay? Now, when subject number 2 definitely does not exist for the speaker, okay, that's subjunctive. So, yo no conozco a nadie que hable japonés. I, subject number 1, don't know, verb number 1, anybody, right, that's my subject number 2, this nobody, but it sounds weird to say nobody, so we say anybody, that speaks Japanese, okay? Again, suspend your logic, okay? Obviously, there are many Japanese speakers in the world. There's a whole country called Japan, where Japanese is the official language, okay? However, the person speaking, this yo, that's my speaker, okay? And their perspective is I don't know anybody that speaks that language. So because that person who speaks Japanese is unknown, I got to use subjunctive, okay? I know, it's a little weird, okay? But it's formulaic. Once we do enough practice, you'll be pretty comfortable with it. Another example, Raquel doesn't know about any program, any TV show that is funnier than Family Guy, okay? Well, then that TV show, right, that subject number 2, a TV show that's funnier than Family Guy, that does not exist for her. For her, Family Guy, the funniest one, that exists. The other one, okay, any show on TV that's funnier than Family Guy, that does not exist for her, okay? And so we use the subjunctive, which is sea, okay? Now, again, a good hint for when subject number 2 doesn't exist, you're going to see a lot of negative words. Ningún, right? Words like nada, or nadie, or ningún, or nunca, or, jamás, or other words that mean never, and nobody, and no one, and nothing, and all those kind of things, okay? Those are going to pop up a lot when you have this kind of example where it's subject number 2 does not exist for the speaker. Okay, so this is just a little test to see if you can understand what happened here. Federico quiere un libro que, right? Federico wants a book that is interesting. Oh, here's the thing. We're going to end up using subjunctive because what if Federico goes to the bookstore, Barnes & Noble, okay? Or what if he goes on Amazon? Or what if he, goes to the LRC and he cannot find an interesting book? He wants one. He wants it. He may go and he may find one and he'll be happy, but he may not. It may or may not exist. Okay? Maybe, maybe not. Posiblemente existe. My handwriting is atrocious, but you see what I'm going for. That book may or may not exist because it's only possibly going to exist. Subjunctive. Okay? ¿Entiendes la información que recibimos en clase hoy? Did you understand the information that we got in class today? If you got the information in class, it exists. Existe, right? And again, what am I talking about today? That we got in class today. That's my subject number 2, because what you got in class was the information. The information exists because you took it in class. Okay? Indicative. That's why your verb is recibimos, right? Not opposite ending, but regular ending. Preterite, recibimos. That's it. If you have any questions, we'll talk about them tomorrow. Adios.